out, so we don't have more inputs. Nothing about it then. Alright, I'm gonna go live on. I'm just gonna try and get it so I can keep it closer.
Well, I'm already set up live right now, doing the behind the scenes for everybody else.
Alright, if you want to go ahead and
Get her started.
get it started.
Hello out there, Podcast Nation. Welcome to our next live web stream. I am the Recovery Atheist here with Two Brothers Live, Two Brothers TV, and my boy JR. And today we're going to talk about some interesting subjects. And the biggest one we're going to talk about right now that seems to be on a lot of people's mind at the moment is gun control.
G-U-N.
So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let JR start off with some thoughts, and then I'm going to pop in with some stats and everything like that, and we're going to have a nice little discussion. Why don't you take it away, JR?
Howdy, folks. Good morning on this beautiful Saturday, folks. Try and bring the juice, bring the energy, because, everything in life comes back to how you bring the energy, how you bring the juice, how excited you are if you're doing something you love, and so forth. Are you excited to be alive? Ultimately, every day we wake up, being alive and healthy and in America is a gift. It's a blessing, and it's like winning the lottery. Your chances of being born are 1 in 400 trillion. They're like insane numbers. The chances of us having life, especially having healthy life, being alive, being in America, it's amazing. So I'm glad to be here. I'm happy to be alive. I'm happy to be healthy and be making content on a regular basis that I enjoy making. So most of all, today we're going to be talking about gun control. And I'm going to be talking about gun control, money, and fear, and all of it. Gun control, money, fear, and then how it connects to politics and how it connects to everything that we talk about at Wierman Media, and the fact that Wierman Media is about creating content, using media, the written word, the photo, and the video to shine light on things and shine light on positive topics, like the negative that comes from these things, and understanding that we can use media to share it positive. And I think it's interesting how most media sources are using fear to manipulate and drive things like we're talking about with guns and so forth. Because gun control and the NRA and these big media companies have a lot of money behind them. And once you realize that, it's a really interesting topic, and it's a really important topic because it correlates, like I said, to everything, and the manipulation of people via media to feel fearful, to feel like they have to buy guns, to feel like they have to go out there and protect themselves because someone's coming to kill them. And I think it's a great topic, and I think I'm going to correlate all of those things to it. And I think it connects back with everything that you do too, Doe.
Yeah, I agree. We live in a very, very fear-based environment, especially in 2020.
Fear-driven.
Yeah, it is pushed that way. Now, I'm going to say my views on the entire situation. I'm not against nor for gun control. I believe that some of it could be controlled, and we don't need the assault weapons and everything else like that, and the semi-automatics that some people, especially out in Montana, want to be able to try to have because it's their right to bear arms. But I'm also not. I've had a gun. I've been around guns pretty much all my life, growing up in Wisconsin, deer hunting, things of that nature. So I dealt more with shotguns and rifles. I haven't ever owned a handgun. My dad, he owns 3 handguns. He has a shotgun that's in the room by the bed, and he has a couple Glocks that are sitting around the house. Now, the thing is he's living in Kentucky, so I kind of understand it a little bit more of where he's coming from with that. He's already had some weird guy, one summer night, they had their front door open, and this dude just walked in for no reason. So I understand why some people have the guns and everything like that. The thing is the whole idea of it's not the guns and it's not the bullets that are killing people. It's the people that are using them. There's a lot of people that honestly should have no business having guns. And I know some people will look at me and say, well, who are you to decide that? But it's true when you see some people that are killing people on a whim or just because they feel threatened, that whole fear factor, when there was nothing there for them to shoot at in the first place.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point how the majority of people they're acting impulsively and they're acting erratically. And if you look at it, a lot of Americans don't have emotional control and they act impulsively. But ultimately, I think what you're talking about is a really interesting point because gun control, to me, comes down to the greater good of our nation. So if you talk about, it's like a core problem in America. We all selfishly want guns because we think our life's at risk. But really, what about the kids? Let's look at the kids that are being slaughtered. Let's look at the people that are dying. And there's so many correlations that we could dive into here. There's the one on, I selfishly want guns to protect me and my family, but I don't care about the kids being shot and slaughtered in all the schools.
Sandy Hook.
There's countless schools. All these kids. Let's start to come together selflessly to move these laws forward so kids stop getting slaughtered.
I mean, are we really at a point where they're talking about having teachers trained how to use guns and have them in our school?
More guns is just the problem.
That's really where we're going to that point now, is that we've got to have teachers carrying guns with them in the rooms.
So there's that topic on the selflessness of it to move forward and stop having kids killed. But then there's also the money behind it and the talk about the money and the politics and the manipulation of the people via media to feel like we need guns, and then also all the money behind wars. If you think about this, and we start correlating it back, there's so many correlations. Look at COVID. Everyone's freaking out because lives are being lost. Well, there's no freaking out when lives are lost in war and lives are lost from bombs and guns. There's hundreds of people dying a day. I think it's at 110 people a day dying from gun violence.
Right.
And if you average that out over hundreds and hundreds of years, no one's losing their shit over that. It's just an interesting point.
Correct.
Everyone's losing their shit over people dying from COVID. What about all the people dying from guns and opioid overdoses and so forth and car accidents? Why aren't we starting to audit these things? We don't care. People get killed by guns. It doesn't matter. No big deal. There's a bunch of money in that industry, so it doesn't matter. It's just interesting to me how we don't audit the death. Like, look at life's lost, and we don't care. And I think it's all about division. Money is in division. That's why Gary Vee talks about it. If we're divided and we're not united and we're mad at each other, we're angry and we kill each other, and we're not voting for our greater good of a society, it keeps the money flowing in for all the people. Because if we're divided, they make money.
Well, JR, what I'm going to do right now is, you're very passionate about this subject, and I can tell that.
I'm passionate about a lot of shit.
Yeah, but this one is really hitting home for you. I can feel the vibe coming off you, and I think this is a good one for you to really get your ideas out there, especially you coming from the business aspect of it, and how the money and the politics and everything that is being involved with it, and how it has a ripple effect on other things that are happening. So I'm going to throw some stats out there and bring the truth to the table and really show what it is and how it is involved in our economic system that we have in this country. And I'm going to let you give your viewpoints on it and just let you have a heyday. Okay? So right now, according to the NRA, again, my sources that I'm using are official sources. The NRA is saying that last year alone, the FBI did about 28 million background checks, which went to about 13.9 million firearms sold in the year of 2019. Brand new weapons out there. So obviously it's a money-making business when you're selling that many weapons. So it is, America's gun business is worth about $28 billion
a year.
A year that way. And it's a big business that way. But it's not just the business of selling it that is having an effect.
It's all the other industries.
It's all the other industries that are being,
security.
Okay, so it's saying that gun and ammunition manufacturers, that the gun stores, it's about 11 billion of that profit or that money spent. Guns and ammunition manufacturers are the ones making about 17 billion of that. Now, according to other companies like Amazon, which makes 178, it seems like a trickle of money coming in. The GDP of the United States is 19 trillion. So you look at that 28 billion and it's like, oh, it doesn't really seem like that much of business that's going on. But when you look at how it's affecting other areas in our economy, it does. Security alone businesses bring in 25 billion a year. We've got 1.1 million security guards out there just so we can be trained and responsible to be ready for the active shooters that have gone out and as part of those 13.9 million firearms that were sold. Estimated schools are spending about $2.7 billion a year on security measures, so they don't have a repeat of like Sandy Hook and Columbine. The government spends about $65 billion per year on domestic homeland security to be able to deal with the gun issue that we're having. And then this one, to finish it off, this is the biggest one to me that I find interesting. You can even argue that our health care and the budgets that we have for our health care are greatly influenced by gun violence, to the point where they estimate about $2.8 billion a year for hospitals in care spent on health care. When it comes down to it, gun violence is a big business dealing with hospitals when they come in to get help for their gun wounds. So when you look at the economic, you're sitting there going, well, 28 billion, yeah. Even the NFL is 6 billion per year. So you sit there and you go, well, yeah, I get, but it is having a ripple effect on more than just people going out and buying guns. It has a straight across the board economic ripple effect on other areas that we deal with in our lives.
And it says it right there. Fear can be a powerful subconscious addiction for some people, and people who gain a sense of self by protecting others could act to perpetuate fear in those who are surrounding them.
And by the way, just to also quote my source on this, you can look it up. It's America's gun business is $28 billion. It's through Forbes.com. So this is Forbes magazine, a very reputable source.
So it's really interesting when you try to look at the manipulation of the media and the photo. So this all comes down to awareness and perspective. We always talk about auditing our income and our actions and understanding what's controlling us. Me and Del talked about this in a previous episode. Auditing what I trust, where I gain my value, where I'm getting my direction. Because most of us are controlled by fear and insecurities. It's a huge topic when it comes to guns. Because if we're letting fear and insecurities control us, it directly correlates with us and guns, because guns are a big part of the fear industry. The fear industry is pushing people to think that we can't unite, that we're threatened by our fellow people.
Right.
When really, when Del talked about it in one of our previous episodes, a lot of humans naturally, instinctually, we have morality. We want to do good. We want to help other people. We want to help people build. We want to build people up and not tear them down.
Right.
So I think it's really interesting when you start to realize how the media sells fear, our nation sells fear, and the amount of money behind selling fear and the fear culture, because it pushes division. It doesn't push unity. And when we're divided and we're fearful, we think we need guns. We think we have to kill our neighbors and not unite with our neighbors. And we think that the power and control. What'd you say, Del?
Well, I just was looking here on the Forbes list. I love what it's saying here. It says, in short, one of the reasons that we can't solve our gun violence problem is that it's a complicated, emotional, and deeply enmeshed with Americans' sense of power and control.
Exactly.
You know, you hear it all the time. Hey, don't be taking away my guns. I have the right to bear arms. It's right there in the Constitution for me to be able to do that. Well, you got to understand.
So selfish.
You got to understand when that Constitution was written was back in the day where they were dealing with tyrants and the English government.
Muzzle loaders.
Yes, they were talking about muzzle loaders that take 2 minutes to load.
So by the time you're done loading it, you're not angry anymore.
Right, and you're probably already shot dead from the other person who already had their muzzle loader shot, made up and ready to go. But we're talking about AK-15s and semi-automatic weapons that there is no reason to really have in this country anymore. It's even to the point now that they're using the 3D printing to be able to make these stocks and these weapons to where legally, if they're not connected into a gun, that they're not made into a gun in a hole, they can sell those parts online to people in segments. They get all those segments legally, put it together. Now it's an illegal firearm, but the people that are making the money off the 3D printing, the FBI cannot, and the ATF cannot get them in trouble because they're selling it in pieces rather than one whole gun. We have a problem in this country where people are dying from something that is unnecessary, something that is, to my opinion, it is a egotistical, it is a power and control issue that you want to feel like your rights. I mean, it goes even to the mask today, wearing masks. It's like, you're taking away my rights. No, we're not. Guns are, I mean, I'm not saying we need to take guns away. I'm not going to go to that extent. Like I said, I love to deer hunt. I do. I haven't done it in a while, but I do. I love venison. I love deer hunting. I've had good experiences and childhood memories of being with my dad and my family doing that and building good family memories. But to sit there and say I need to be carrying around a Glock with me everywhere I go. When I lived in Kentucky, there you don't even have to conceal it. You can literally put it in your waistband in a holster.
It has to be, yeah.
And go into Walmart.
It's open carry
with it right there. And so
which is an interesting topic.
I would go into Walmart and be shopping, and I've got all these fuckers around me with these guns.
Open carry.
And it's like, you don't know who this dude is. You don't know what mental health issues he has. Is he drunk right now? Is he high right now? What, am I going to do something to piss him off somehow, and all of a sudden he's going to pull that gun out? I mean, I should not have to go into a Walmart and be confronted with that.
I think it just is the ultimate example of rigidity and bureaucracy. So, like, when you look at our gun control, look at America. I just want people to start auditing. It's all the stuff I talk about all the time. I'm going to keep on theme. Audit what's controlling me. Audit my income, my actions, and what's controlling me. So if fear is controlling me and insecurities, I'm going to think I need a gun to protect myself. But why? Why is anger driving America? Why is division driving America? These are huge questions. Why do we need guns? Are we the gun states of America, or are we the United States of America? If you think about it, the United States of America is divided. We're angry. We're impulsive.
I was going to say that United word doesn't even apply anymore.
That's what I'm saying. So if you think about it, get rid of United. It's called the gun states. And when you think about guns, it's fear, it's insecurity, it's anger, it's violence. It's the complete opposite. It's what everyone wants, because then when we're not united and we're not together, we are vulnerable and we're not strong. As a species, we are weak when we're divided. We are vulnerable. When we unite and come together as a species, and especially in democracy, we instantly start seeing changes. The problem is, we don't want, people in America that are in power don't want that. And that's why we need to start auditing. Why are we killing each other? Why? And then why don't we care about it? It's completely, it makes me absolutely kind of angry to think about, because,
yeah,
I mean, you think about it, it's just irrational. Everything about the guns is irrational. It's just that because it's part of America. It's
right.
Part of America.
And it brings me into my next point. Now, people are going into the Walmarts, and they're going into the gun stores, and they're picking out the weapon of their choice and their ammunition and everything like that, and it's all registered, and it's all background checks and everything else. But nobody is talking about the gun shows. That is another prevalent area when it comes to guns in this country, is people are able to go to gun shows and buy guns, and most of them don't get any kind of a background check to get those guns. You can pretty much find a gun anywhere at any time if you want to be able to do it. It is so prevalent, it is so available for you to be able to get a gun. And I'm sitting there going, why? Why is it so easy for us to be able to get a killing machine? Okay, I mean,
it's because we're about fighting and not uniting. Everything
exactly.
It's about fighting and not uniting.
It is a weapon that every time you pull that trigger, especially if you're pointing it at somebody and shooting it, you have to take the responsibility of you might kill that person.
What's more entitling and selfish than saying I'm entitled to a fucking gun? I'm entitled to have the power to kill people.
I find it irresponsible.
It sounds so gaudy.
I like I said, I have used guns and I will continue to use guns, but I use them responsibly. I'm not there to use them to hurt anybody.
I don't ever use guns.
Well,
I haven't had a gun in years. I just think
you and I are going to be a little different on that. Because
I just think if you have guns, though, you're looking for violence. You're looking for trouble.
No.
If I'm a thug,
I have a shotgun and a rifle, and I've never pointed it at anybody.
I'm just saying, though, I lived in Australia. They don't have any guns. Why? If you don't have guns, then there's no guns. There's no violence. There's no killing. There's no death.
There's people with guns.
It's very minimal.
Especially out in the outback.
It's minimal. People. It's minute, though. It's very non-prevalent.
I will bring this up because you and I are going to have little disagreements about that. But what I will bring up is about, like in Canada, their gun violence compared to our gun violence. And in Canada, they have lots of guns.
But I'm
Okay.
just saying, you can't really say that you're for gun control and then say you're for keeping guns, though. It's kind of like one or the other.
No, I'm saying you can keep guns, but have certain types of control when it comes to how those weapons are sold and how they are used. Yes, I can.
Yeah, like removing of semi-automatics.
Right,
and so
right.
forth.
So I believe that there is gun control that can be done. I don't believe that they all need to be taken away, but I do believe that there's certain policies that can be put in place to make these situations safer and not in the situation where just anybody can get their hands on
Here's
it.
the thing that's fucked up. It's a right to have a gun in America.
Right.
It's a privilege to have a license. Think about that. So a license is a privilege. A gun is a right. That makes no fucking sense.
I agree.
Your license and gun should be the same. It should be a privilege to have a gun. It should not be a right. It's just the primary example of rigid bureaucracy and legislative laws that help. Legislation and law in politics is the slowest thing to change and evolve. It's the slowest thing to be innovative, to be sustainable. They stay rigid in everything that they do, and they stay rigid in how they operate, and they're not going to change and grow and evolve. So when you look at this law, as Dell said, is it's like patriotic in it, and it's so old in its patriotism that it's like within our blood. It's like deep within us that we believe we need a gun. But I just think it's time to evolve. Times are more complex. People are more impulsive than ever. People have more advanced weapons than ever. And it's so much more scarier now with the impulsive people, the amount of people we have, the amount of guns we have, the amount of angry people we have, that it's not like back in the day when this law was drafted and written. It's time to evolve and change.
Yeah, I wanted to agree with you on that and put a little something else into that. Is back in the days when the Constitution was written, everything like that, they did not have
Semi-automatic clocks.
well, and the police presence and everything like that. The laws were a little bit more. It was more of like the Wild West. You know how it was in that aspect. Is that yeah? It was there was not as much policing, not as much rule checking and having people to keep that in line. And so a lot of times people would have those in their homes to protect their homes because people would raid their homes. Nowadays, it's not that way. We talked about it, how much money is going into home security, security guards. They didn't have that shit back then. So again, we're living in a time where it's different. Again, we need to look, you know, how we talked about morals and changing our views and our morals about what is right and what is wrong. We need to start looking at that and realize today we don't need to continually pick up arms and bear arms like they did back, you know, in 1812 and back in the times where the country was beginning. It is a different time today. We don't need to have that same impact with it.
But we won't see the shift until we start seeing people audit everything and we start coming together and we start having these conversations and start having this dialogue. Because the media is going to keep pushing this. Because the media is what pushes the legislation. The media helps control the people and sway the people. Words and photos and videos that the media releases is what helps push people to think a certain way or vote a certain way or behave a certain way. And when the people lack education and awareness and perspective and comprehensive ability, they are easily swayed one way or the other. And then especially if they're living in fear. Someone that is fearful and uneducated is the most easily manipulated. So this is why it's crucial that businesses and companies that have money, you need to start red flagging them, because if they're not coming to you and bringing you value and insight and education and building you up freely, there's a huge contradiction there. They're making a bunch of money off everyone. They're getting voted into office off everyone, but then they're not bringing you any value, insight, or perspective or education. They're not building you up. So it's a huge red flag. We need to start looking at all these things, and we won't see any change until we gain awareness, perspective, and comprehensive ability to start thinking for ourselves.
Right.
And start moving forward united as opposed to fighting. Unite over fight. Come together and start auditing all these things, start having conversations and dialogue on them and realizing, why do I have to kill my fellow American? Why can't I conversate, commune, and generate dialogue that helps bring us forward? I'm all about giving up a little bit of my freedom so that there's less kids being shot and killed. I will give up my freedom, a little bit of it, to make greater good for America. It's what it's all about, sacrificing a little bit of my freedoms for the greater good of America and a nation. I don't want my kid to have to get shot in the head. I'm thinking about, it's all about empathy. Think about all the families that their kid was shot. Stop thinking about fucking me and think about the people that have been slaughtered. Like, everyone's like, every time you bring up guns, what's the first thing someone says? What about my rights? Fuck that. What about those kids' rights? What about those kids' lives? Stop thinking about fucking you and me. Start thinking about the people that are being slaughtered and murdered innocently. And that's when you start to see the fucking change. I just think it's completely selfish, arrogant, and egotistical to think that we deserve to have guns and we have the right to have guns and that I'm going to protect me when there's millions and hundreds of thousands of kids or people being slaughtered with guns. It's remarkable. Mm-hmm. It pisses me off. But I think it all comes back to fear. Like you said, it comes back... it's just such a big topic. Fear.
No, I get it. I mean, I get it why you're angry. There's a lot of people that are angry out there about it. And I agree that the kids shouldn't be punished, by other people's.
How can people come in and say that when there's kids being shot? The first thing they say, Del, what about me?
True, but not everybody is.
The majority of people, when you bring up gun control, the first thing that they say is my right. It's a reference to them.
Right. So
they take it away from the other people and they put it on what their freedoms and their rights. Okay. It's selfish. Why aren't they talking about the people that are being slaughtered and murdered?
I mean, I get your point, but at the same time, I don't agree with everything. It's fine.
Yeah,
it's fine.
I'm about solutions though. So
I'm just gonna lay a statement out there, and the people in Podcast Nation and people in general that hear me say this, they can have the opinion they want on it or not. But I don't believe that all guns need to be taken out. I don't. I believe that it's not the guns that are the issue here; it's the people using them.
No, I agree to a certain extent with what you're saying. I believe in guns being still prevalent and available, but they need to be a privilege. It shouldn't be a right.
Right. It needs to be...
And it needs to be more like a driver's license, where if you drink and drive...
It needs to be controlled. It needs to have policy involved when it comes to just who can get it and how they can use it.
Heavily restricted.
And it's not happening. That I can completely get behind and support.
The problem is with that, Del, is that it's so gray, right? And when you start to think about this problem, I think about everything in life as binary. I find balance in binary. Yes, no. Yes, no. I don't find balance in the gray. And when you think about what you're talking about with guns, it's guns or no guns. And what you're talking about is legislation within the middle. But with all the money and fear that goes in with guns and the money and the power, I just don't see it working ever. Because what you're talking about is such a middle ground where it just doesn't happen in politics when there's so much money.
But you talk about all the time that we shouldn't be thinking in black and white, that we should be thinking outside of the box, and that we should stay somewhat more in the gray area. And the whole black and white thinking, I'm sorry, people out there in the world, you need to get the fuck over that. Not everything is black and white.
Yeah, I know, but there's no real middle ground with guns. Let's face it. It's either people think you need them or you don't. It just doesn't work.
So if that's going to
look at the battle, we haven't gotten anywhere with it.
If that's going to be the case, then this will never be solved. We'll be talking about this 20 years from now.
But just look at where we are. There's no solution. When people come together about it, they're not solution based. They're all just debating about whether guns should be gone or where more guns freely.
Right.
They're not sitting here. The solution is about what we're talking. We're talking about solutions. Well, why no one talks about the solution? It's just interesting to me. I just think what you're talking about is, I agree with what you're saying. I just personally think that it doesn't work because the people never find they just don't, especially in politics. Until our politics change at the top, I just don't see issues where people are going to meet.
Again, this comes down to what we've talked about in some of our other podcasts. I think that's kind of closed-minded when it comes down to it. I think those changes can be made.
I totally agree they can be made.
I don't think that it has to be just black and white, or that
there can be changes.
That there isn't going to be some kind of a coming together at some point.
Totally.
If that's the case, I don't know why I'm even on this show talking and doing a podcast.
No, I believe 100% in change.
If I don't have a voice to be able to get out there and possibly make small, even though they're small baby step changes,
100%,
and getting people to open their mind a little bit more, I don't know what we're doing. But
that's exactly right.
The truth is if we're going to have any solution like you're wanting out of this, it's got to be where we get out of the black and white thinking and we start realizing where the gray is in this and how we need to fix it. So yeah, I absolutely agree. It seems like it's always a black and white situation, but that's got to stop.
And it always seems like it's a me situation over a we.
I know that can be too good to be true when I come and say that, or I can sit there and say, well, in a perfect world. But the truth is that is the solution.
But if we educate our people and we give them the tools they need we wouldn't have people that need guns.
True.
If people are happy, content. So if you think about America,
I like hunting, and deer population and everything has to be done with the hunting season and everything like that.
when's the last time you hunted?
About 5 years.
5 years. So we're talking about an event once every 5 years. So I agree with what you're saying.
No, from 12 years old all the way up, it was every year.
Yeah, so you can have clubs or resorts where you have. What if there's hunting resorts where you go and you hunt, and they have big acres and they have the guns, and there are only a certain amount of people that have the guns, and you go and you can hunt and you get a gun while you go hunt.
But again, that goes against the constitutional rights.
But I'm just saying, I'm
so
saying.
Therefore, again, you're
whole
talking
point
about
is,
changing the Constitution.
I'm talking about, yeah, totally. The Constitution needs to be amended. It's amended all the time. We have to look at ways of changing the gun right.
Constitution's not amended. The Bill of Rights are amended.
Yeah, but I mean, there's amendments made to legislation.
But to the Bill of Rights, not to the Constitution. The Constitution has remained the same from the get-go.
But we need to make amendments to the Bill of Rights, is what we need to make amendments to.
Yeah, the Bill of Rights, that's just...
It shouldn't be a right to own a gun. It should be a privilege. There's no way it should ever be a right.
I agree with you about that completely, that it is a privilege for me to be able to go deer hunting, or a privilege for me to be able to do that. I get that.
I just think it says a lot about me when I'm out there killing things, and I think it says a lot about our nation that we're so about killing other things.
I don't agree with you on that.
I just think it does. I just think it's a shift. Like if I'm someone that's happy, content, and I'm not irritable, and I'm living a life that's fulfilling,
so
there's no extent of me.
So you're saying that when I go deer hunting, it's because I'm not happy and I'm angry?
No, I'm not. That's not at all what I said. I'm saying when I'm in a space where I'm completely content and I'm happy and I'm loving life and I'm pursuing my passions and I feel fulfilled and I'm connecting with other humans and I'm having a great life and I'm happy and content, I have no urge to go and kill anything. Anything. I'm in a space right now where I've been in one of the best spaces I've ever been, and I have zero urge to kill anything. I'm happy. I'm completely content. I would never want to see anyone else or anything suffer. Like right now, I'm in such a good place. If I saw someone suffering, I would never want to say anything negative to them. I would want to help them. But when I'm in a bad spot and when I'm angry, that's when I want to see other people angry and other things hurt and killed. When I'm in a really good space like I am right now, no, I have zero desire to hurt anyone or hurt anything. So I'm just saying that's for me. I'm not saying it means that if you go hunting that you're a bad person or that you're angry or you're not happy. No, that's not at all what I'm saying. I'm saying my perspective right now with where I am, it's the best space I've ever been in my life, that I don't have any desire to shoot and kill anyone or anything. And I think there's a huge question that we could talk about there, where why so many people in America feel like they have the right to shoot and kill something. Like you talk about religion, and this is a great episode, because if you talk about religion, it's God. He has the right to decide if you're in or you're not. So who says I have the right to decide if you live or you don't live? Or you don't, like, you know what I mean? Like, I believe in what you're saying, Bill. I just think it's great to have this dialogue on it. Like, I believe there should be guns available. I just personally think that it needs to be completely reduced.
And I think it's just a bunch of hippie bullshit. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think guns should totally still be allowed.
Because you know what, things die, okay. And the thing is with deer.
Yeah, but are you God? Are you saying you're God? Well, look at your contradiction of God.
I'm sorry, but I'm going to say that you're way off base on this.
Audit your God thing. Audit your God thing.
Care.
Your God thing. You say God is God, right? What don't you like about God?
I hunt deer.
But no, let's talk about your God though. What don't you like about God?
What I don't like about that there is no God.
But what is it God's characteristics that you don't like, that you think that are invalid? What about God do you think makes him invalid?
Well, I just don't think it's what he says in the Bible is the right way to live.
Yeah, and then also, don't you think it's invalid that he judges people? We had a previous episode where you said he judges people.
Well, that comes to a certain extent, but I'm sorry, bud. I can look at someone and be able to have a judgment against someone from the experiences that I've had. Not everybody.
Judging people is completely. That's exactly what you're talking about with God. Judging people is the imperfection.
Dude, judgment is a word in our vocabulary. It has a definition, and it is something that is used in day-to-day. I can judge whether or not the situation I'm going into is a good situation or not. I can judge whether or not somebody is good enough in that situation for me to be around that person that it's going to be productive for me. I can have that judgment.
That's
now,
I mean, this is a great topic, Del. I mean, I'm not going to dive. I'll dive into it more because it's a great topic.
The judgment that I'm upset about when it comes to God is the judgment of whether or not you're a good person or not, and you're going to burn in hell or go to heaven.
So that's judgment.
That's the judgment I don't
But you can't audit judgment. Judgment is a basic concept.
Bullshit.
That's exactly right.
I'm sorry, man.
If I judge someone here, I can't judge someone for judging someone.
You will never, ever admit that anything that you're saying in this situation is going to be wrong. So I don't even know why
I'm just saying, no, I'm not talking about right and wrong. I'm talking about the auditing of things. So I'm going to audit judgment. So if we're going to audit,
okay, so we're just going to go out nothing to do with anything. Not use judgment at all in anything that we're doing in our lives.
No, we're going to audit what we're talking about, and what you talk about.
It's the same as judgment.
No, it isn't.
It
has nothing to do with anything.
Judging.
We're talking about a topic. So if you're talking about a topic of judging people, and God can't judge people, and we're talking, judging is when I think someone or something, like I make the decision. If you're good or you're not, or you're right or you're wrong. That's ego. That's all ego.
Thanks. It's all about my ego, everybody.
I'm not talking about you.
It's all about,
Del, this isn't about individuals. You gotta take a self out of it.
But I'm in that category.
This has nothing to do with individuals.
I'm with those people,
That's your ego, though.
No, it's not. I settle with those people.
Nothing I'm talking about is about Del. It's about the word judge.
But I'm with those people, so you are talking about me, JR.
No, it isn't. That's you making it about Del. It has nothing to do. If I talk about people that like to hunt, that is not you I'm talking about. I'm not talking about you in any way, Del. You're a great guy. What I'm talking about is the word judge. So if I don't like God, because I think God judges people, but then I think I can judge people over here, to me, that's a double standard. I need to look at that. That's just what I'm saying. That's just that has nothing to do with I'm right or I'm wrong, Del. It has nothing to do with you or me. It has nothing to do with personalities. Personalities are the objective that we need to overcome, because that's what we're talking about. We're just talking about definitions. But if I can sit here and say, I don't like God, I agree, I don't like God, because he judges people. If he says, you're not good enough, you don't get in because you didn't follow my rules, that's a double standard to me. But at the same time, I think we can correlate that all to gun control. Because if you look at guns, if I'm the one that's going to pull the fucking trigger and shoot and kill something, that's me playing judgment. That's me playing judge in some fashions. If you can't see that comparison, I just think you just don't want to look at it, because that's the truth. Like, if I think I can go kill someone, let's look at a human, for example. That's me playing God. If I have a gun and I kill a human, I'm playing God in that instant. I'm deciding who lives and who dies because I think that person deserves to die. That is me playing God. Life and death, there's nothing more gaudy than life and death. Nothing more gaudy than life and death. If I think I can go kill a squirrel because I'm God and I think that squirrel deserves to die because of population, that is me thinking I am elite. Me thinking I'm better. There's no way you can dance around this. It has nothing to do with individuals. This is just facts of the words that we're talking about. So if I'm going to go out and say I don't like God, and then I go out and I say this deer needs to die because I think the population control, that's all I'm talking about, though. It has nothing to do with you, and I still believe people should be able to hunt. I'm just talking about this shit. So I agree. I like hunting too, but I've never shot or killed anything in years. I used to be incredibly violent, but me with a gun when I'm angry and mad or sad is scary. And I wouldn't want to have it. It's just dangerous and scary. So for me, I don't think I should be around guns, because for me, guns lead to bad, impulsive decisions. There is nothing about guns that to me is uniting, to me is positive, to me is helpful. There's just nothing about them to me that is. But I do see where hunting should be allowed, and I do see where some people find it as a sport. And so I totally see that as doable. But I just think if we're going to talk about judging things and God, I think there's a lot of correlations here with God, with guns and God. So whether you want to talk about that, I mean, you're the Recovery Atheist, so you should be all about talking about guns and God. I mean, ultimately, that's what this is about. It's about judgment and God.
I don't agree with you with what you're saying. And I'll just leave it at that.
So you don't want to dive deeper into the Recovery Atheist?
I can go ahead and dive deep into it, but no matter what I say on it, you have your feelings and your beliefs.
Yeah, so I want to hear yours though. So what about guns? I want to hear your opinion on it. What about guns is not God? How don't you? What I brought up, I want to hear your take on it and how you see people that have guns. Say someone kills someone. Don't you think that?
But killing a deer and killing a human is apples and oranges.
No, the principles of it are the exact same.
No, they're not.
100%. It's taking a life of something.
No, they're not. They are absolutely
Well,
not.
Let's not look at the deer then. Let's look at the human.
Well, that I would say is completely wrong.
But that's the majority of gun death. So it's just irrational to the
So
majority of
then
gun death.
So then let's just leave the fucking hunting out of it.
So let's talk about people being killed by guns. It's the
Well,
same
that-
principle.
It's not. Killing a deer is not the same as killing somebody.
But the majority of gun deaths are people, dude. So it's the one that matters.
I get that. So, okay, so because there's people out there, let's punish everybody for the people that do not know how to use them right and kill people.
No, I'm asking you, what do you see wrong with people killing other people with guns?
Well,
the principles of it. What's the principle?
It's immoral to kill anybody. It's
Okay,
immoral
so-
to kill a human person.
All right, so what's your opinion on that? So what's your take on someone that thinks they have the right to kill other people and have the right to have a gun to choose to kill
Well, I
other
think
people?
that's pretty obvious. They don't have the right to do that. And if they're using guns to be able to do that, then that's wrong. But that's not what I'm talking about. But still, yeah, no, I completely agree with that, but that's wrong.
Yeah.
But it's a bigger argument than just people killing other people. Gun control, when it comes down to it, is going to have an adverse effect. It's going to have a big effect on more than just that. This is a bigger argument than just that.
But that's the number one problem.
It is. But it still has all the other policies and the other things that are going to come into play when it comes down to it for other things that are used for guns. It's a bigger picture than just that. That's what I'm saying. I'm not judging a deer when I shoot it. I'm thankful to that deer because it's feeding me.
Totally.
There's a difference. I'm not shooting a person to feed me. If you're doing that, it has to do with anger. It has to do with violence. I'm not being violent when I shoot a deer and use it as a way to feed myself.
I see that. That makes sense.
It's completely different.
It is, but at the same time, in my opinion, I see what you're saying, and I rationally see your point. And my brother says the same thing, but I don't at the same time. Because if I'm shooting and killing something, and it bleeds and it dies, and it no longer lives, to me, if I rationalize that by saying that's a less creature than me, or a less of a being than a human, that is me playing God. And if you don't see that, I mean, as smart as you are, I think you're smart. You're
sorry,
one of the smarter people I've talked to. You have to be able to see what I'm saying.
No, I don't agree with you in saying that I'm a god because I shoot a deer.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying, do you
I
see?
think I'm God and making a judgment.
I'm saying,
that way.
do you see my point? I'm not saying do you agree. I'm saying as smart
I
as
see
you are,
what you're saying,
the point I'm
but
making
again, that's
and the
coming from
concept.
the left side liberal tree-hugging way of thinking that way, that just because you have a gun that you're angry or depressed or want to be God or play violent and be violent that way.
Well,
That's
actually,
not
all
the
those
case.
characteristics you just described are exactly the characteristics that go exactly with why people have guns and why they use them to kill
Bullshit.
people.
Not everyone has a gun that goes through that.
The majority of people that own guns, they're fearful of other people. They're running rampant in ego.
Okay, so let's get into that. Is there any legitimate
those
reason for some of that fear when you've got people that break into your fucking home and kill you in your home?
Dude, there's hundreds of thousands
Is
of
there
places.
no.
man,
Is there
isn't.
legit? There's no
That's
legitimacy to the
100%.
where my dad has had people just walk into
Your
his
dad's
home.
making the decision to live somewhere. I've lived in 9 states. I have never had anyone. I've been a thug. I've robbed and killed. I've done crazy shit. I've been around people that rob and kill. I've been in prison. I've been around people that thug, rape, kill, pillage, you name it. I've been around it, and I not have once have ever needed a gun. Not once. And you're talking about me being in prison. You're talking about me being around thugs that rob houses and being around Crips and Bloods and Aryan brothers, and I've never once needed a gun. There is no place in America that I can go and say I need a gun. If I don't, I can go somewhere else then. There's hundreds of thousands of places I can go where I can be around, don't have to be around guns.
Some people don't have that ability to just go anywhere.
But if I choose to be in the hood, then yes. If I choose to go to the hood, and of course I might need a gun. Or if I choose to go to Kentucky, of course, Dale, you're right. You're 100% right. I'm choosing to go to the fucking hood or the South. The South, there's guns everywhere down there. You're right, your dad needs a gun in Kentucky. 100% agree. You need a gun in Kentucky. But that's because I chose to live in Kentucky. Like if I chose to go back to Kentucky right now, That'd be like me choosing to need a gun and be around violence and people that are crazy, wild Southerners that want to shoot guns.
But then again, that comes across as like my parents made the wrong choice by doing what they're doing down in Kentucky because they chose.
This has nothing to do with your parents,
to
though.
be down there.
You keep adding personalities to it.
Well, no, it's not that. It's just people in general. I think you're being very judgmental on your own way.
I am not judging anyone. I'm talking about the
think you
concept
are.
if I choose to go to the
I
hood.
think a lot of the statements that you're making have a very much a judgmental context.
If I choose to go to the hood, it's the concept of choosing to go somewhere that I need a gun. It has nothing to do with personalities, Del. You actually are choosing to put personalities in there. You just did that. I never once mentioned your mother and dad.
Because you're talking about people.
No, I'm not. I'm talking about concepts.
That involve people.
I'm talking about concepts, Del. You brought the people into it. I'm talking about the concept of me choosing to be in a gang or me choosing to live in the South.
And who's in those gangs?
You have 100% free will. You act like your parents don't have free will to go anywhere they want in America. You can't sit here and say your parents did not choose to go where the fuck they are.
You are being so judgmental.
No, it isn't.
Yes, you are.
You brought your parents up.
No, you are being judgmental.
If you want to bring it up, Dale, I'm going to go there because if your parents have free will.
Why are you yelling?
Your parents have free will.
Why are you yelling?
Your parents have free will. You act like they're in prison to Kentucky.
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying, though, is you're making it out that it's all about concepts and things of that
Everything
nature
that I talk about is about concepts, about me choosing.
that involve people.
If I choose to go somewhere, yes. If I choose to go somewhere that I need a gun, how can it just sounds really conflicting to me. If I'm going to say I'm going to be a priest in the South and then I carry guns, like it just sounds crazy to me. It sounds like if I was going to go do that, I would be worried for my life. If I wanted to go I've lived there. It's scary. You need a gun down there, but it sounds scary to me. It doesn't sound like something I would choose to want to do. It sounds scary. It doesn't sound like something, I want to go be around people that I need a gun to live. It's just it's an interesting topic, and I just think that you can remove people from it, and you can remove individuals. So a big part of what we talk about at Wierman Media, I remove personalities from it. This isn't about me. This isn't about anyone. It's not about Del's parents.
I don't know how.
It's not about you. It's about the concepts.
I don't know how you remove people from these conversations.
You remove personalities from it. It's super simple. It's super simple. You remove people.
And again, it makes me feel like I'm an idiot because I'm not able to simplify it like you do.
But this is all you feeling. That's your insecurity. That's on you.
I'm not insecure.
This has nothing to do.
I'm not insecure about any of this.
You just said it.
I speak what I
We're having a conversation.
This isn't insecurity.
You just said that you feel insecure or less than because you think that you don't understand what I'm saying.
No, that's how you're coming across.
No, that's what you just said,
because that's how you're coming across.
No, it isn't.
Oh, my God. I'm going to need to end this right now because...
But this is exactly the issue. That's a huge red flag.
You can't handle it that somebody is calling you out on what you're doing.
I'm sitting right here talking with you. You're on live TV and you're saying you can't talk.
You're raising your voice and getting upset because someone has a different opinion than you.
I am incredibly passionate about what I'm talking about. That's correct.
That is correct.
But I'm not going to run away.
I'm not going to sit over here and agree with you or be able to understand your point. But when I bring across my point to you, you don't want to hear it.
I just said, yeah, I do too want to hear it.
No, when I bring it across to you and say that this is this, you will say, well, I see why you have a gun. I just don't think you need to have a gun. I see why you have it, but I don't think you need it. This is the whole... I see why you have it. I don't think you need it.
You're acting like a kid, Del.
No, I'm not.
Listen to what you just did.
No, that's how you. That's what you're saying. You just said that you're going to get
up and walk away, and then you just said all this
because
stuff.
This is not doing anything that's productive right now.
It's 100% productive.
How? Tell me how.
It's forcing you to. It's forcing us to grow. This is everything about this is productive.
All I see right now is conflict.
That's where the growth is. What you're talking about, you just were at a spot.
Why are you getting so loud?
What are you talking about? This is fucking huge topics that we're talking about. You just said that you were ready. We're in the Wierman Media Studios having a podcast, and you just got to the point where you were just going to walk away and quit the show.
No, I'm
Of course I'm going to be passionate.
I'm done talking about this subject because it's not going to go anywhere from this point on.
Okay, but
it's not going to go anywhere.
Okay, well, I have a point then. If this conversation ends like this, we might as well not go into any more because I have one thing to say and that's it.
You want to play that game right now?
No, I'm giving you a point, Del. If we can't
you want to give me an ultimatum?
No, I'm not giving you any ultimatum. Let me speak. I'm saying if we can't continue to work through this, if we can't sit to each other and work through right now whatever the issue is.
I just don't feel I have a voice when it comes to you that way. I think you come
I'm
out
saying
with your
I will
point
sit here right now and work through it with you, but you're saying you're going to walk away. I'm saying I'll let you talk.
I say right now, at this point, there's really not much more I can provide with this
I disagree.
situation.
I want to hear you bring word to what you're talking about and why you just wanted to leave and get up and why you're taking it.
Because right now I
So
need
bring
to
voice
think
to it.
about what we have talked about and be able to understand
We're right
what
here.
this whole but at some point you reach a level that there's really not much more we can do unless we start thinking about it. What am
That's
I going
what
to
this
do?
is.
Sit here and be in quiet?
That's what this is, though.
Contemplation for an hour to be able to come up with other things to be able to say now that I have all this information that's been thrown at me this way for me to think about? I can't just...
But it's just a simple topic of guns. We're not talking... You're taking
That's just it. It's not a simple topic. Stop simplifying it. It is not a simple topic.
Okay, well then can you talk about it more then? Will you talk about it more? If I choose to be in a gang, Dell...
Which I was in one. I know.
So if you choose to be in a gang, am I choosing that? I'm choosing that lifestyle.
Yes.
Okay. So we
Yes.
agree. Yeah. So I agree with you. So if I choose to live a certain place that needs to have a gun, or I need to be in a lifestyle that has a gun, that is somewhat of a decision I can make in America. In America, there's enough places to live that I can choose to live somewhere that I don't need a gun. Do you need a gun in Duluth? Do we need a gun in Duluth? I don't need a gun in Duluth. Do you need a gun in Duluth?
No.
Your parents were just here. They're lovely people, amazing people. I don't think they have an ounce of bad in them. They would probably never want to kill someone.
But do you honestly think they made the choice to be in South Indiana when my dad had nowhere to pastor in Minnesota, so he went there to be able to continue in his profession? He didn't really have a choice. He had to go there.
Yes, there's some point. Yes, 100% agree with what you just said. But at the same time, there is a choice. When people say that there's no choice in drugs, I disagree. Yes, you're right, Del. But when I say I don't have a choice to pick up a drug, I think there's always a choice at some point. Yeah, I was somewhat. You could say
once the obsession happens and the effect.
But I made the choice to pick up the first one, though.
True, but you still have the addictive obsession that's in your brain that way when it comes to it, and it's a scientific fact of that.
But I think it's a good example of what we're talking about, that your parents are completely innocent-minded people about helping other people, and they now live in a place where they feel like they have to have a gun. That's scary to me.
My dad had guns here. My dad had guns in Malacca, Minnesota.
Yeah, I just don't know the need for guns.
Okay, fine. We agree to disagree.
Yeah, I agree to disagree on that.
Because I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Yeah, I agree with you. And there's tons of reasons it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But when it's the number one killer in America, and it's one of the number one motives for fear, and it's one of the number one manipulations in America, it's kind of a big topic. It's one of the number one manipulative tools in the world is anger, fear, violence, and manipulation of people that are living in fear, and then thinking they need to protect themselves. And guns are a real example of ego.
But putting the whole entire blame of that fear and everything else on guns, or feeling like that's the
it's kind of a fruit.
There's religion, there's politics, there's many of other things out there that cause just as much fear, if not more.
Guns connect, but guns are right up there at the very top.
I'm not
of the
saying
talk.
they're not. I'm not saying they're not, but I'm just saying it's. According to the money that's being made in this country when it comes to the religious fear that's being made, fucking guns are just a drop in a bucket.
Yeah, but we're
Well,
not
you
even.
got Kenneth
Yeah, but we're not
Copeland.
even talking about the grand scope of it. Look at the military. The real level, the
Exactly.
real level of guns. If you want to talk about money, let's bring it to that level. If you're going to compare it to religion, let's compare the military, because that's the comparison we're talking about. If you're going to compare religion and the impact it has, now let's talk about the military and war, because that is the top of the pyramid of violence, anger, ego. I'm better. I deserve to live. You don't. It's military. So the military, the spending on that.
I'm going to sit here and say that from your point of view on it, that the military in the war is never needed.
We need to spend money on building bridges as opposed to destroying bridges. If you took all the money...
What if those people don't want to hear that and make those bridges?
If you went to the people that are the most angry, every time in my life I've gone to someone angry and I said, I'm going to help you, I'm going to build something for you, I'll give you a house.
Go to the Middle East and do that.
Totally. Go all over the world and start telling people you're going to build them in schools, you're going to build them infrastructure, you're going to give them money, and you're going to improve their quality of life.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that would do much better than saying I'm going to come drop a bomb on you.
Well, the thing is
and the amount of money is the same.
A lot of those situations over there that way, they don't care if you're going to come over there and do that.
Yeah, because of the reputation that we built up. They hate America now.
Well, and they have their own reputation of being violent.
Totally, we all
Especially
do.
what they do to their own people.
So now this is the whole topic. This is why it's such a big topic. It's about violence throughout the world. It's like one of the number one problems that's behind division is anger, resentments. It's the core principles of everything I've learned in life in AA and being sober. It's the same stuff in AA that drives division. It's when I think I'm better than people or elite, or I think I'm like, it's ego, it's anger, it's division, it's lack of unity, and it's like cooperation. And it's really the number one cause of war and division in the world. And as a species, it's one of our number one threats. It's a nuclear bomb. If someone gets angry tomorrow and impulsive and wants to drop a fucking nuke on the world, they can just fucking get impulsive and be like, and the Russian, whoever he is, the Russian or this guy from South Korea, whoever, he can just hit a button and drop a nuke. To me, that is scary. And if that's not
But we've been facing that for
but this is a big topic though. It's it correlates directly with guns, and it's the exact same topic of anger, impulse, fear, division, and lack of unity. So I just think it's really interesting. It's really cool to talk about, and it's really interesting, and I love it because to me, one day that's what I dream to do. Is I dream of doing things like this that are in politics, and I dream of being president and doing things like that. So it's my number one passion is talking about things that unite people. And to me, guns and war is the primary example of things that are dividing the people and lacking unity. Like if we're gonna talk about blowing each other up and killing each other and so forth, like we might as well not even come to the table and have dialogue and conversation, because if we're just gonna if I'm gonna come to the table and just blow and try and shoot you, like that to me sounds like really rigid.
But that's the truth of what it is. I mean, they want to sit down and have these conversations, but it's always the Mexican standoff. It always is. Who's going to pull the trigger first? To the point where our military that way is like, well, we better respond or we better act before they do and get the upper hand. That's the normal response. That is like conditioned. And even in society and in the world that we deal with just in normal relationships today, not even in a war or guns or fighting like that, just normal relationships we have, we always want to get the upper hand. We always want to react first before the other person has a chance to. You even look at our listening and how we listen to each other. Most of us, including myself, I do it all the time. I have to catch myself. We're not even listening to what the person is saying. We're already coming up with a response. So that's, again, you talk about black and white and how it's real hard to get into that gray area. When it comes to the military and having those conversations with war with other countries and things of that nature, again, it has been such a black and white topic that it is real hard to find that gray area. Especially when you're looking at the Middle East, you're looking at North Korea, you're looking at Russia. I mean, it has always been volatile in those areas, and it has not changed. And again, it comes down to it is that our ways of belief, our ways of looking at things are completely different, and it's almost like playing chicken. Who's gonna flinch first?
You just hit it on the head. It's the ultimate level of complexity. It's the mix of size of people, religion, lots of different religious doctrines, and politics.
Right.
Middle East is the example. He's just hit it on the head. Dell just hit it on the head. It's complex.
I mean,
there's no situation, Dell, that's more complex.
They are conditioned in the Middle East, and you can argue with me all you want, but I've done the research on it and I've looked at it, and I feel like I have an education when it comes to it, but they are conditioned and taught that we are the infidels. That we are there to rape, pillage, and kill. That's what we do. Now, of course, some of it we have done. But they have it, a lot of them over there, the majority have it in their mind that every single American in this country is that way. And we're not.
No, I agree.
Just like on this side, we feel that everyone in the Middle East or anyone who's Islamic, Muslim, are radical terrorists. And that's not the case. Sam Harris talks about it all the time. That the Muslim nation, when it comes down to it and how they're made out to be the radical Muslims that they are, is not true. There's many Muslims who do not have any of that radical violence that is involved. I've worked with them in my life that have nothing about that to where they're angry or violent against white people or Americans in general. It's a radical 1-2% of what that is. Just like with Christianity, we have the radical 1-2%. that are going to make the Christians look bad, the ones who are actually caring and doing what they're supposed to do, just like the atheists. You got your 1-2% that are complete ignorant assholes and don't know what they're talking about and just want to attack people, and it makes the other atheists look bad because of that.
Yeah, I think it's a great point, though, and I do think it's almost impossible. So I think there is chances to have unity in like a nation, but when you start to look at the global level, it just really gets interesting, Del, because what you're talking about is so true. As far as having unity globally, it's just like when you start to look at all the egos, all the politics, all the fear, all the division, all the size of people and their different opinions and beliefs, it really is as complex as it gets.
We are a biased, judgmental, racist world.
It's scary.
It's the truth.
It's scary.
We're all afraid of each other. Now, of course, you and I, we don't necessarily feel that fear, or we're trying to not have that. But when you look at the overall world and the way it is, everyone is afraid of everyone.
But I think you just hit it on the head. What the example you just gave? Because we don't. Because why? We're in here together in the trenches having dialogue. Why can't we do that?
Well, like even with us arguing, you're my brother, okay?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, yeah, do you piss me off? Fuck yeah, you piss me off with some of the comments you make. But I'm sure I do too.
No, actually, you never pissed me off.
Well, I wish I had your way of thinking on that, because there's some things that it's just like, to me,
it comes from a world, Del,
is stepping on my toes. That's, you want me to be honest about it.
But I wouldn't have...
I have my beliefs, and when I feel they're being trashed, you're going to get a rise out of me.
Yeah, that is taking it... So, yes, let me respond to that. Because I... First of all, I want to say, if you weren't who you are, and smart and open-minded, and here to have a show and have dialogue, and show that vulnerability, and show that authenticity, and come here and be on shows, start your own show, take that initiative, I personally value having people like you around. So you wouldn't, like, that's huge. But yes, of course we're going to have things that we're not always, but this is where I grow.
I'm just tired of my value system being trashed.
But this is where I grow. This has nothing to do with you necessarily.
But in some ways,
yes,
in my belief system, it does.
But nothing that you say will
right?
offend. No, it doesn't offend me, because you could say anything you want about my belief system, Del, and it's never going to offend me, because I don't take it offensive, because I believe 100% in what I believe in, and what you say doesn't offend me. I understand you have your opinion and your perspectives and where you come from. I completely believe in you having that right.
You've been wholly touched by something.
You have the right to have. How can I say you don't have the right to have your opinion?
That I haven't tapped into yet, because
Del, if I said you don't have the right to have your opinion, I just would never tell you that. I love your opinions. You have made me smarter, because I'm questioning my own opinions. And there's been things where I've now shown light on from our dialogue that I never thought about in that perspective before. So that's all I'm saying. Obviously, that requires me and you to go and talk about things that might make people uncomfortable. But either way, I think that's awesome that you're doing that.
I guess just the biggest thing about this whole thing is it made me uncomfortable, because I didn't expect it to go in the direction that it went. It kind of caught me off guard. For the most part, well, first off, I'm new to this. I'm new to being able to debate.
That's awesome.
And I'm new to be able to figure out how to do that. Like I say it all the time, I wish I was Sam Harris.
Yeah, me too, but
I'm
not, though.
I wish I was able to have the composure.
He is remarkable.
That he has to be able to deal with it.
I just don't think some of us are meant to be like that.
I'm passionate, just like you.
You are. I love it.
And I was not prepared for the situation to happen the way it did. And when it come down to it, I did not know what direction to go in it, because the truth is I have my beliefs and the way they are, and just as much as you feel it's your right to stand up and voice your opinion in that and be able to have a voice, so do I.
Yeah, that's right. That's why we both have microphones in front of us.
So I was coming back with the voice of, because I know there's other people out there that are listening to these podcasts that side with me on this. Now, I know it's not about taking sides, but I know there's people that understood what I was saying, just like there's people that understood what you said.
Exactly. But that's why we have microphones in front of us, and that's why we're doing what we're doing, is to talk about these things.
Well, fuck, if you and I had the same wavelength of thinking and belief systems.
Just think we would never, if we just thought, if every time someone said something that was like, yep.
We agreed with everything together on everything, it would be
boring. Yeah, we'd say, yep.
It would be boring.
Yep.
We would have no podcast.
Yep, Del.
Yep. Agree.
Yep.
That's the way it is. Yep.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yep.
Thank you for joining our podcast. Yep. Mm-hmm.
I think it was a great show, Don. I think it's really awesome that we worked through that and we talked about it, and it's such a great topic, and it's such a passionate topic, and it shows that we care. Me and Del care. We do this because we are passionate about it. Del's passionate. I'm passionate. We do this because we care and we're passionate. So we love talking about these things, and now, as you see, this pushes us all to grow. Not only you, if you observed, or he observed, or I observed, it pushes me to grow, because I was also very passionate, and I also have to learn this. Also understand that I need to be open-minded and take his perspective in. And I agree with a lot of things that Del said. But for me, I just find it a really crucial topic to move forward talking more about, because I think he has a great point. It's about finding balance, and it's about finding what works for America. And I think there is a system we can find that works, that still has gun control. I mean, that still has guns allowed, where people can go hunt and do those things, because there's nothing wrong with that. And I do think that there is a system in place where we can get where it's not a privilege. I mean, it's a privilege. It's not a right. And we have these systems in place. And I do think you should be able to go hunt if you want to hunt.
And this is where I'm going to end the show out and just put my little
stamp on it.
Little stamp on it, and then close out here. But if you are, if you are someone who believes all guns should be taken away, or whatever, you have the right to believe the way you want to believe, and that's your reality. That's your experience. My beliefs and where I'm going with this is coming off my reality and the experiences I've had. I have not had derogatory experiences when it comes to guns.
Exactly.
So I'm going to look at it from a different angle. And if we don't have both of these perspectives going on, nothing is going to come in form of a solution. So there's going to be differences. But I appreciate everyone being on, watching the show today and listening to the show. We're going to be doing some much more content coming up here. We're going to quickly do some editing so we can get some more podcasts and videos up this afternoon for everybody, for your enjoyment. If you like the stuff, please just subscribe at my YouTube channel, The Recovery Atheist. I'm at therecoveryatheist@gmail.com if you want to contact me directly. I'm also on Instagram and Twitter. You can find me on Spotify now. Just put into the search.
You can find them all over.
Yeah, I'm on Spotify now. Just put in the search engine, The Recovery Atheist. I'm right on top. It's a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing.
Other than that, I'm on Facebook, Del Bacon, The Recovery Atheist. Come see me. Come give me your opinions on things, topics that you want to discuss. Hope everyone's having a safe afternoon and a safe weekend, and I'll pass it off to JR to close her out.
Yeah, I think it's a great topic that we just had, and I think it's really interesting dialogue and conversation. And ultimately, I think a big obstacle for humanity and for us to cooperate and work together flexibly and unite and to overcome these things, it requires to talk about judgment, fear, division, and oppression, and opposed and different opinions, and bringing those different opinions to the table, because that's where we get the solution. There's ultimately, I can't solve anything by myself, and I can't do it without having people around me, or I can't achieve anything by myself. I need to have people on my team that are smart, intelligent, have different opinions, they can completely build me up. And that's what Del, that's what my brother, that's what all these people around me do. They help build me up, and they help bring direction and purpose and meaning, and they help me grow and develop. So ultimately, I think as humans and as a world and as a species, in order for us to start moving forward and doing these things, this is exactly why we talk about podcasts so much, is because it starts the dialogue and the communication of moving towards these things. So I think it's really cool that we're able to do this and be vulnerable and authentic and real with you and make it true and not hide anything. A lot of media is manipulating, and they're not authentic, and they're not vulnerable. They turn the camera on when they want it on, and they're authentic when they want to be authentic.
And it's all scripted crap.
Scripted, controlled, because they're not being authentic and powerful and real.
None of this was scripted. But my emotions and the way I was reacting and the way you were, that was all who we are.
There's nothing more powerful than authentic, powerful storytelling and being real and true and vulnerable. And me and Del are about that, and Wierman Media is about that. So we challenge everyone out there to start being more powerful, more authentic, and more real with their story, and sharing it with others and making it available to others, because that's when we will start to see the dialogue, the communication, and the unity of solution-based conversations come forward, as opposed to just straight up division, unity, fear, and gun states of America running everything. Let's start having us run stuff. So y'all, once again, your attention is our oxygen. We greatly appreciate you for tuning in. And the Recovery Atheist and Brother Deuce are signing off.
Peace.